And so now I'm going to introduce Ronnie, or Ronnie, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and then, you know what, you can just start in on the presentation. You don't need to hand it back to me.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Lou, for inviting me to be here. I'm originally from Mexico City, as Lou said, and then I moved to the US when I was 18 to go to college, and I played soccer my first 2 years of college, Orange Coast College in California, and then moved to Florida, to University of Miami, to study sport administration. So that's where I ended up graduating. And yeah, I had a career in sports. I worked in the Olympic movement. And then while I was working in the Olympic movement, the sustainability agenda started to grow. I'm talking about 2016, 2018, when the UN Sport for Climate Action framework started. So I decided to study a master's in the UK, here in Scotland, on sustainable development, to connect my background in sport with sustainability. Now I'm here still in the UK. I'm in Edinburgh, and I'm working with an organization called Golf Environment Organization for Sustainable Golf. And I'm also doing some projects as well on this intersection of sport and sustainability. And this is one of them that I'm going to present shortly, on sport and the intersection of sport and nature. And yeah, I'm going to start presenting here. India is going to present with me as well, because I mean, the opportunity is more in general for sport, but we're going to give an example for golf, and India is been involved in this as well. So India will help me. So thank you, India, for being involved in this as well.
And gang, this, you know, they're going to be presenting, but certainly, and we've left time for Q&A and discussion at the end. But if you have a question during it, interjections are okay.
Yes, please.
Ronnie, back to you.
Sure. So can you see my screen, everybody? Good. Is it big enough? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm not sure if you watched the show Ted Lasso, but I like to make this analogy of Jamie Tart. Any of you have watched the show here? Well, there's this problem in the planet that we live in, that we humanity see ourselves separate from the rest of nature, as most of you might know. Don't want to be cliche here, but we need to move into more ways of seeing ourselves more as a whole, not just like a separate species on this planet. So going from the Anthropocene, that I guess most of you know that it's the era of Earth where most of the human activity has changed the planet in some way, we need to move to the Symbiocene era of Earth, where we need to start collaborating and working with the rest of nature, and start not extracting natural resources for the benefit of the human race, but also to see us as a whole. So that's what I put this in as a starting point. And Jamie Tart, the guy from Ted Lasso, he starts the show as just thinking of himself as a player, separate from the team. He only wanted to score goals, and no matter what about the rest of the team. And then he evolves to see himself as part of the team, and he ends up becoming a better player. So yeah, a bit cheesy, but just making this analogy. And we also wanted to show you this. I mean, not to be doom and gloom, but it's just the reality about the Living Planet Index that the World Wildlife Fund released 3 year, I think 2018, yeah. And what we can do to about it as well. And the biodiversity loss is real. And here is some data from the website called Rewilding Data, which I invite you to check out. They have lots of good data on lots of topics. And yeah, and I wanted to show you this quote as well. India, you want to go ahead and read it?
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever heard about this one before, but you and the tree in your backyard come from a common ancestor, and 1.5 billion years ago, the two of you parted ways. And even now, after an immense journey in separate direction, the tree and you still share 1/4 of your genes, which means we came from one, and we are still one, but in a different way.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys read this book called The Overstory. It's I think it won the Nobel Prize for nonfiction, or the Booker Prize award. And when I read this, I thought, is this like fiction or nonfiction? But actually, I googled this, and it's true. So I wanted guys to share this with you, and yeah, because I thought, oh wow, this is just a fact that kind of like shows us how we're part of the rest of nature, and trees. Sometimes we see them as just like this Copernican way of saying like, oh, just a machine, it's just like a non-animate species there, but it's actually shares some part of the DNA with us. So how does this relate to sports? Most recently, during COP15 in Montreal, the Conference of the Parties on Biodiversity in December, the International Olympic Committee, together with IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, presented a framework called Sport for Nature Framework of what sport organizations or sport stakeholders can do for biodiversity laws, to protect nature, and of course to communicate and educate on the importance of nature for our survival. So this is how, now going into the specific project, how the project of the Symbiosis project came into it. And it was part of a called the Sport for Nature Challenge that the International Olympic Committee, together with IUCN and Think Sport, an organization in Switzerland, so pretty close to where you currently are, Riley. A couple of months ago, they organized a challenge on ideas for projects on sport and nature. So we presented this idea. So again, this is just an idea that was presented. They told us, send us some crazy ideas. So we did. And fortunately, we made it to the finals. And Lou asked me to share this with you. So as well, if you have any feedback, I mean, this is just an idea. If you have any feedback or things that you want to comment, or you want to be involved, or you think it's crazy, please go ahead and just interrupt me and say anything, or raise your hand, and Lou will give you the word.
Or
So,
you want to be a part of it because you think it's crazy, because that's where progress
Yeah.
happens. Not
Yeah.
but because.
So in short, well, let's start with the name of it first. Symbiosis means organisms living together, and it's basically the way nature interacts. Like one example is how trees interact with mycelia and fungus in nature, how they basically exchange nutrients for a common benefit. So you see this as well in the ocean. You see it with clownfish and coral as well. So there's a bunch of examples of how nature works collaboratively with like different species work toward a common goal. So I invite you to have a look as well of how different animals and species work. So I thought sport and nature could be this as well, how sport and nature work for a common goal of biodiversity protection. So also, I mean, one of the solutions that we were thinking of presenting was rewilding. So India, you want to explain what rewilding is?
Yes, so rewilding is the restoring of damaged ecosystems and steering them to generate value for nature and people, which means everything that we created by ourselves, we could turn it in a way that it would become more natural. So without use of chemicals and more use of other plants or bringing in more animals.
So yeah, it's about regenerating natural processes and letting nature grow. And we were thinking of doing this around stadiums and arenas, around urban rural sports pitches, all different sports spaces, to raise awareness or for people to see what rewilding is and how sport could play a role in it, even if it's just like small patches in the world, can actually make a big difference. So this is how the project was born. And I want to show you just an example here of what a corridor for nature is. Here in the UK, there's a corridor called Will to Waves. So it's a partnership between different landowners or farms, land managers, wildlife charities, schools, to build a huge corridor of wildlife. And I think I mentioned this because I think sports spaces could be part of this corridor, even though it's just small places like a football pitch or a stadium. They don't have much green around it, but if we build some part of green, it can become part of a whole of connectivity. So we decided to build this playbook for rewilding. We call it Rewilding Through Sports, and that it's going to be aligned with the United Nations of Ecosystem Restoration and with the Sport for Nature framework. And we create this play where it's going to be done in 3 phases. The phase 1 is to research and learn about the area of the sports facility. Phase 2 is once we know that, when we have the biodiversity data of the place that we're going to rewild, we're going to present the options to it. And phase 3 is how we're going to communicate these actions. And we thought to involve art or different creative ways to communicate it, but mostly through sport and art. So I'll go into details. Maybe right now it doesn't make sense, but as I'll put the examples, maybe it will click. So I'm gonna give an example first for a golf course. But again, this could be applied for other sports as well. Ina, you want to give some facts about why we chose golf as an example first?
Yeah, I think because golf is mainly in nature, it's a little bit easier to implement that there. But as you saw in the previous slide, it can be implemented anywhere. But some of the facts about golf is that, yeah, you can see it here.
Yeah, here.
It has around 170 acres, and it has 18-hole golf course. And there's a lot of places where you can add those rewilding corridors in it. And then you can see it's 40 to 70% of that land is out of play area. And then there's many people that are very influential that play golf. And so 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs play golf. And besides that, there's a lot of celebrities, a lot of other sports stars. So if we do that in the golf course, it can be really, it can increase the masses to involve that in other sports as well.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you might think, oh, golf, it's a controversial sport. They waste a lot of water, they use a lot of pesticides. But it's also like sort of like a provocation and see how everything has 2 sides as well. Golf also has lots of nature around, and actually there's research stories of how golf courses attract wildlife, specifically in urban environments, because they hide from all the noise or pollution. So you find lots of wildlife in golf courses. And here's one of the visualization that we've seen in a golf course of how, as India said, 40 to 70% of a golf course is not used. So how can we utilize golf course in a better way? So here's an idea of what we could do around a course with, I mean, again, just thinking crazy ideas here. We can do a micro remediation projects. We can do like beekeeping and pollination area that we will show some examples of how actually some courses are doing this. We could do veggie and herb gardens for local communities. I mean, I know golf courses are so in most countries private, but they all can also benefit the community in some way if they use the land for better use. So this is just imagining a better future for sport, but in this specific case, it's for golf. And yeah, I'll show you a bit of how the phases we presented of how this could be implemented. We call this the research and learn, how we can learn about what grows in the place, what's native to the land, and what's actually good to do there, and know about what's good to implement. So I like this quote by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It says, to be native to a place, we must learn to speak its language. So this is the idea of phase 1, to learn about what actually is happening in this space of land. And to do this, we thought to use different technologies, from AI to eDNA to GIS technology with satellite technology. And I want to show you an example of how you can gather data on biodiversity for a specific place. So any of you tell me a place where you like to go to in the world. Like it can be like a university or like a place where you practice sports. So anyone wants to participate, or like a local football pitch or a track.
You can put it in chat.
Yeah. Piscataway, New Jersey. Okay, let's go there. Okay, so let's go to the SH Stadium here. So with this technology, we can just mark the area around where the stadium is located. You can do it as big as you like. And analyze the area. And it gives you some sense or data on what's around it. Like this is a Northeast US coastal forest. It has temperate broadleaf and mixed forest. And it tells you, I don't say it's exact, but it gives you some leeway or like general sense of what's around plant species, amphibian mammals, and bird species. So this is one way of doing it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's a company from Switzerland, actually, Restore. And yeah, it's GIS technology, it's satellite technology, and they have lots of data from different points from different projects. So it's quite reliable. At first I was like, oh, this is how do they gather all this data? But they have lots of they have like a whole library of data collection from projects and different research studies they've done with the universities. And yeah, so yeah, this is one way of doing it. There's also here, I'll show you another. This is the GIS. The eDNA. Maybe you've heard about this technology. You basically send test a DNA sample of your soil or the river near the area, and their organizations such as Nature Metrics tells you some insights about it, like biodiversity surveys, impact assessment, community assemblages, and endangered species detection through all eDNA technology that it's growing quite a lot, not only in nature, but also, as you said, you can know your heritage through through DNA sampling. So this DNA technology, another aspect to gather data. And once we have enough, yeah.
How much does that cost to get a sample tested?
It depends on the amount of the land, but I think they quote between $10,000 and $50,000 to just get a quote on this. But it depends of how many samples you want and the amount of land.
And sorry to interrupt, but because I'm just using the website now as well. How do you what do you click on to be able to measure out the green space that you want to look at?
What do you mean, on Restore?
Yeah.
You need to
Can
have
you
an
just
account.
show us again?
You need to have an account.
You have to have an account. Okay, got it.
But yeah, if you want
Hold on
Sarah,
1 second, I'm just going to interject for a sec. And Ridian has to hop, so have a good training session. Just following up on Sarah's questions, Ridian, I'm going to provide your email to everybody, and so if they have specific questions, they can get in touch.
So yeah, Sarah, if you want, I can give you the link to do like an account there, so you can check it out and explore it. It's quite easy to use and it's free, and you can just go into the app Restore and go into generate new sites, and you can go anywhere in the world to do it. So
okay.
So yeah, second part was more of how once you know all the data, what we can do around on the golf course, what we can do around it. And there's like a portfolio of ways that you can implement, like native plant gardens, beekeeping, small-scale rewilding, nesting bird boxes. So different nature-based solutions, we call them. And there's also the value of this, like this nature-based solution generates nature products such as the beekeeping. They can create spaces for research and education and ecotourism. People can go into these spaces and see what rewilding is and maybe engage the local community there. And also as well act, as I said, as a connectivity spot. So this is only some of the benefits that these nature-based solutions can
You know, what would be cool would be, if you connect this to a golf course, you could have a living, rewilding scoreboard that is showing in real time if there's ways to measure it, land reclaimed, species added or lost. In other words,
Yeah.
you never,
It's
don't
quite
always
hard to-
win.
It's hard to measure biodiversity, but it would be good to even measure the actions that people are taking, and then rewilding takes time to recover, but at least to see what that at least people are doing and what it means for them. Okay, we brought back these species, like actually the butterfly that was almost extinct got back because we let rewild this part of the place or the golf course or something around those lines. So again, if you have any questions or anything, please just go ahead. Inya, you want to give some examples of how golf courses are doing this around the world now?
Yeah, so I was just in Helsinki, and they actually had a lot of local food there, so that's another way to do that. But here we have there's a lot of things like that in up in UK, in Scotland, for example. They don't use any irrigation or chemical systems. They just let the sheep help them with that. That way they don't even have to have grass cutters because sheep eat everything. Then, for example, Sweden, they put the beehives in out of play areas. And the Netherlands, they have the birdhouses, which also had the course that I was there. They also had a lot of birdhouses around, so they are preserving the biodiversity with the birds. And then Costa Rica, they have vegetable gardens there. We have one as well in Slovenia. They produce their own vegetables and then they use it in meals at the golf club house. And then here at the last picture, it's in Finland. They have an oak tree there, and usually when they create new golf courses, they have to cut down trees to create space. But here they just let it grow, and it has been there since 1958, which I think more golf courses should be doing that.
Yeah, so it's feasible. And it's already been done. It's just how we can communicate in ways for people to engage and people to know, because golf course normally are known for using a lot of water and pesticides, as I said, but there's also the other side of the story and what they're doing to overcome this. Like the birdhouse, for example, is a natural and effective way to prevent processionary caterpillars without the use of pesticides. So there are nature-based solutions, as we said before, that could be implemented or presented in a way that people maybe were not aware. And for the phase 3, as I was saying, how are we going to communicate this? And I thought how we can make it multidisciplinary and make people be engaged with this, not only with the actions, but actually through art. Like we can communicate through immersive art in the course, or social sculptures outside the stadiums, or photography exhibits, or doing a documentary, or any form of art. And we think art I like this quote by Rick Rubin, the producer, that says, "The arts create a profound connection between the artist and the audience, and through that connection, both can heal." So besides doing the actions, you can communicate through art exhibits about the actions, if that makes sense. And here's one concrete example of this course in Long Island called The Bridge, of how are they utilizing arts around the course just to plant the seed. So, yeah.
I like the slogan. No miracles here.
There will be no miracles here. Yeah, I think it's a Scottish taste. So, yeah. But yeah, you engage local artists or global artists like Olaf Eliasson, this Icelandic artist that does a lot of work on climate. But you bring these artists into a sports arena, that the sports arena have lots of reach, and you communicate these problems and solutions like in a good way through art. And this is not, I mean, this is a golf course, but I said this could be done outside stadia or universities, facilities, athletic facilities. Yeah, we came up with this formula called emotion, that art and sport evoke emotion, facts with science, and connection, the storytelling of creates persuasion. So we think that this formula of different disciplines can help create this. So yeah, as we said in the beginning, this was an example for golf, but this could be done for other sports spaces. And yeah, just like Jamie Tart evolved to see himself as part of AFC Richmond, I think we can also evolve ourselves to see as part of nature, one step at a time, but to do these actions and communicating this in a, not as a doom and gloom way, but in a friendly way, or through art, or through sport, or through the power of athletes like you guys that are quite influential. Can people start seeing themselves not only as, yeah, just humans being above all the rest of nature, but being all equal and as a whole, as cliche as it may sound, but it's true. We're not separate from nature. And yeah, again, this is just an idea that we pitched and just starting to grow. India is helping me with the idea with golf and with other sports. So we want to involve different people in this, and yeah, make these just crazy ideas like just happen. And we believe that rewilding through sport can be a part of one of the many solutions. But yeah, by doing sport, art, rewilding, science, indigenous knowledge, we can all communicate in a way through sport. So if you watch Ted Lasso, you'll recognize this this belief sign, and you'll recognize this gentleman here that says always football is life, and we believe rewilding is life too. And yeah, that's it. And sorry I talked a lot, but this is just the project idea we presented, and Lou wanted me to show you this.
Well, first, no, don't apologize, Ronnie. Thank you and Enya. This is so interesting, and you know, the mind boggles, like so many ideas, and so many ideas that could involve, I think, Eco Athletes Champions. And so thank you for bringing this to us.
I want to show a couple of examples, Lou, sorry, of what's happening around the world in this. Like, this is in Roland.
I'll be quiet.
No, sorry, just to give some context on the other sports, not because we've talked about golf, but this is also what's happening in tennis. This is Simon Mathieu court. In Roland Garros, they built a botanic garden around the court. And it was quite nice to see this, because people were actually reading about different plants. And it's a way for sports fans be exposed to the nature part of the nature part and biodiversity part of the world. So thought I would share this. It's quite a good example. And there's other stadiums like the Levi Stadium are doing roof gardens. Barclays Center are doing here also rooftop garden. Climate Pledge Arena has the living wall. So there's a bunch of ways to do, we call it rewilding, but to green sports spaces and have and reach a big audience with it. So here's the Olympic Forest that the IOC has been doing. And this is Sport for Nature framework that I mentioned you guys earlier. So it's just starting. And as one of the articles here at the Sustainability Report that you might know, the 2023 is the year sports strengthens its relationship with nature. So this is an arena in Aarhus in Denmark that they're gonna do with the rewilded spaces. So yeah, that's it.
Could you share that article link in the chat? So,
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you.
And you had a question, Sarah.
Yeah, so it's just really so I understand a little bit more about your position, and thank you very much for that talk. It was really interesting. I come from a background, so I spent many years working as a sports development officer here in the UK for about 15 years. My locality covered about a population of 120,000 people. And a significant part of my job role was writing strategic documents about the forward planning of sports facilities and, most importantly, playing pitches.
Yeah.
The primary, this came down from Sport England, were football, rugby and cricket. Not golf, interestingly, but it seems I don't know what I don't know why they didn't really include golf at that time. But anyway, my question really was how much are you working in the private sector versus the public sector, and are you working with governing bodies of sport and local authorities? Because I realize you're in the United Kingdom at the moment. So is that something that you're doing?
Well, this is, as I said, it was an idea that started a few months ago. It's not that we're implementing it already. What I do on my full-time job is work with this organization called Golf Environment Organization, which they do more certifying golf courses and certifying golf tournaments, and helping the Golf Federation and the RNA to do better with golf and sustainability. But this specific project is not that we're currently implementing it. It's just an idea that was pitched. And yes, the idea is to bring private sector into it. For example, they could, I don't know, let's say BMW sponsor like a rewilded pitch area on one of the sport facilities. So bring different, or IKEA, or I don't know, like some big companies that want to do something on their nature agenda, because they're gonna start, they'll need to start doing something on nature as now they're doing for climate, because they're gonna be pushed by governments. So how can we bring this organization into a project? But hopefully that answers your question. I mean, right now we're not working currently with the private sector, but the idea is to integrate them in some way, as I mentioned in that slide. That's gonna be more, that will require different stakeholders. Yes, private sector would be key for this, definitely, not only public sector. So.
And just
I mean, because I think actually the public sector is the hardest one to potentially the hardest one to crack, because in actual fact a lot of the outdoor spaces are operated by the voluntary sector, and the people that are volunteering are older, and I can't do a sweeping statement for everybody, but introducing traditional methods, taking them away from that mentality of, well, I've always maintained the cricket pitch like this, and I've always maintained the rugby pitch or the football pitch, and getting them to change, I would say is, you know, quite a challenge. So yeah, certainly public sector and voluntary sector would be people really worth engaging with to make significant change.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also the way you like present this to, for example, like a golf course, or like, as you said, like different places where they're used to do their own ways of greenkeeping, or this could be something separate to it, not to challenge their ways, but to say this is actually something that could be done as holistically, as part of the system that you're currently implementing, of course. And actually they're quite open. It's not that like they're not open to sustainability. They need to do it. They have no other choice, especially with the governing regulations in a lot of countries. So,
and one thing I want to add to what Rami was saying, and I think he's modest, was that, you know, he brought the rewilding idea to this, I think, a pitchathon, if you will, right, Ronnie? Where there are a bunch of different people who were pitching green sports ideas to the IOC and others, and you got to like the finals.
Yeah, I mean, it was just luck partly as well, but I think there's not much projects out there. People don't make more sense about how sport and nature can work together. I mean, there were some projects more like on sustainable clothing, or I don't know how they can stop using plastic in some like athletic wear, but not so much on like nature restoration initiatives. And sometimes it's hard to come up with, and maybe this project might make not so much would be hard to implement in some ways, but at least there's to plant a seed of how rewilding can be integrated into sport, where I think it's possible if you
I
integrate
actually,
it.
yeah, I look at it differently. I mean, yes, of course, anything hard to implement, sure, but you also show the way to do it. And as you show it, at least to my eyes, and okay, maybe I'm biased, but it just seems less hard as you show the ways that you can do things. So I come away from it thinking, wow, you know what? This is actually possible. Any other comments from any other champions?
I have a
call,
comment. Sorry.
Go ahead, Marla.
I will call that the lifestyle. It's an athlete lifestyle now to live sustainable.
Exactly.
And that lifestyle is something what, you know, if we look what happened during the pandemic with all the yoga clothes, how they were making a bunch of money because people were at home, because it became a lifestyle. It became a lifestyle that you do Zoom calls and you jump in on a Peloton and then you continue your Zoom calls. But now going to rewilding is kind of a new lifestyle, what the athletic world and companies need to adopt.
Yeah, it's like it's a subculture, like lifestyle, a culture and that's how people actually get, not persuaded, but get into the trend or the movement or the positive change. And yeah, I was reading a book that said it's not politicians who lead this kind of change or lifestyle or movement. Instead, it's moral activists and cultural pioneers. And who are cultural pioneers? Athletes and sports. So I think that's the way. I mean, of course, yeah, politicians, sometimes it's hard to convince, but if we do it through lifestyles and subcultures, there's a way to catalyze change.
I think someone else was trying to jump in at the same time as Ina. Anyone else want to talk? Patches.
Go ahead. I just love golf as a starting point for a conversation of rewilding and biodiversity. One, because of all the reasons that you pointed out, which is just the vast space as opposed to, say, like a soccer pitch or something of that size, but also that so many regular people play golf. You know, not that many 50-year-old housewives play baseball, you know, and not that many 70-year-old CEOs, which you were saying 90% of play golf, are out there playing a pickup basketball game. So my favorite thing about eco athletes is a concept that I like to call preaching beyond the choir, which is, you know, we're all among the converted here. We're all on the same page, but there's so many people who play golf who aren't thinking about the climate ever.
Exactly.
So if they were to go to facilities and golf courses, or go to if they're on the board of their country club and someone's bringing up rewilding and biodiversity, that's a conversation that they're never going to have unless they find it in that place. So I really think that this place of golf for having that conversation is really spectacular and special.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Patch. That was the intentionality behind as well. Because people start, I mean, if you put like a sign of, yeah, nature conservation project, maybe people would not go into it. But if you have like a sculpture, like something that attracts their attention, because these guys like art, like CEOs like art, or different people are attracted into different things, not so much into science, but to different ways of communicating. And at a golf course, as you said, you see people spend maybe 2 or 3 times a week there. CEOs go there for meetings. People go there just as a way to refresh before their work days. And right now there's also like subculture of golf, like the public golf courses are getting more open, and it's not that golf that it's that expensive to play anymore. I mean, you can buy used clubs for $50 and go to the driving range, pay $8 for that, and go play. And also Top Golf. Maybe you guys seen Top Golf. It's quite trending now, and from there people go into the course afterwards. So it's kind of being, is that the word, gentrified, or like it's opening up to more. It's not so much elites anymore. I mean, it still is, of course, but the idea of this new wave and adding rewilding to it, it's part of why we chose golf as an example too.
And then Nuno, thank you for sharing in the chat with what you're up to as well. Maybe you could share a minute on that.
Okay, I just shared the link of the website. This is a European project called Green Education Through Sport. We are going to have a course, and it will be free, so everybody can join and learn how to do or how to organize a sustainable event. So this is a European project. It involves at least 6 European countries, and we are trying to create information in order for people here in Europe start to organize more sustainable sport events.
Nice.
Can I
this is-
ask? Yeah,
when
I
this
was
is
just
being-
gonna ask.
Enya, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask the same question as Ronnie. When does it start?
Hopefully soon. Actually, I'm writing one of the models right now because one of my expertise is communication. So I will write basically about how to communicate in greener. I like to use this word. But hopefully soon. Maybe next month. I'm not sure yet, but we need to stick to the deadlines. So it must start soon.
Thanks.
And
You're welcome.
any other questions? Because we have a few minutes left to the bottom of the hour.
I was gonna ask a question.
Go ahead.
If anyone sees this rewilding being done in your own sports, where could that happen? I mean, we saw how golf could be rewilded, but what about your sports?
Looks like Riley has an idea.
Yeah, I was immediately brainstorming while listening about how this could be easily like applied to cross country courses. And I mean that's very, it's like sometimes our cross country courses are on golf courses. So just having like signage and like you're saying, like sculptures or art that attracts people to come to look at it, that are, you know, fans or people just watching the sport. So I think cross country would be a great opportunity to highlight you know, the biodiversity that's there, what it takes to, you know, make the courses. Yeah, and then I'm trying to think for tracks, because tracks are more like removed from nature, and they're usually in a, I don't know, in more of a city scape. So I'm trying to think about what I could do for track as well, to bring back nature. If it is like a rooftop, they don't have a rooftop, but if it is gardens around it or something, I'm trying to brainstorm that. But I think cross country courses have a huge opportunity there.
Yeah. And there's also, Riley, for urban biodiversity, if you look up initiatives online or you Google it, there's even a book of nature-based solutions for urban spaces. So there's a bunch of nature-based solutions like in the portfolio on phase 2 that I was showing that could be applied to urban spaces. And it's not only for nature. So
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen for a second to show an idea that is still possible in baseball, but could be for any stadium. So let's just see if this works. Can you guys see that?
nice. Yeah.
So this is an artist rendering of a proposed baseball stadium project for the Oakland A's, Oakland Athletics. And for any of you who are here in the US and who are following baseball, this project looked like it was going to get done, and then the politics and blah, blah, blah makes it look like it's not going to get done. And in fact, that the Oakland team is going to move to Las Vegas, but that's not a done deal. Anyway, but what I love about this project, and I hope that they stay in Oakland and revive it, is that it was done in an industrial area that was along the waterfront. For those of you who don't know, Oakland is right across the San Francisco Bay from San Francisco, and considered the poor brother of San Francisco. And this was in an environmentally damaged area that they're in the process of reclaiming and cleaning up. And they were going to put a ballpark in there, and also new housing, including low and middle income, retail, etc. But the key thing here is that they were going to build a park that would be open to the public, except on game days. You would have to have a ticket, but it would be very cheap to get into the park area when there is a game. And that would ring the roof of the stadium. And then you see this strip of soil, and that would lead to what's not pictured at the bottom, would be another area that they're reclaiming and turning into a public park. So I don't know if that counts as rewilding, Ronnie, but I thought that this project would be something that might fit into what you're talking about.
It does, because I mean, rewilding, it's broad, but also it's about greening spaces and bringing nature into urban spaces, rewild urban spaces. So is this the project? You know the architects, Lou, the name? Is this Bjarke Ingels, the Danish architect, or who is this?
You know what? I have to go back into it.
Yeah,
but I can get that for you. But
thank you.
And just a quick note, we're at the bottom of the hour, which is when we always say we, end the chat. You're free to go if anybody wants to continue on. Ronnie, do you have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
If there are any more questions or comments, or we can just end it now.
I just want to say thank you so much, Ronnie, for presenting and pitching Rewilding. I'm brainstorming still, so thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me here, and yeah, good speaking to you on Monday, Riley, as well. Nice meeting you.
I just want to say that I added the link that I am on. I have a chance to become a chair for open water sports, and one thing what I have done in open water sports is kind of educating the host companies and host organizations that we need to add oysters in the bay, and not many open water peeps doesn't know that oysters can be a great filtration. And I try to do the same here with local restaurants, because so often I go, like, I don't eat seafood, but when I go to restaurants and I ask to call up the chef if they know that they should be collecting the oysters and plant them back to the bay, so often they don't. And it's a waste, on a sense that nature have created a filtration on itself. And we have seen in Hudson, it's actually working really well. I've swum in a Hudson. I'm going to swim in a Hudson in 20 of August. And I have to say that the oysters can be one of the tool to help to clean up our waterways.
Awesome. And I know the Marla, the Billion Oyster Project, which is to repopulate the Hudson River and surrounding bodies of water with oysters that have been overfished and polluted out.
Yeah, and I think that's what people know in New York area, but it can expand to different areas. I mean, Miami have been waking up and trying to do that, but we are still so far away because all these Michelin star chefs don't know that, and I'm trying to educate.
And so you put together a link that asks us to
Yeah, I don't know why it's giving pushback. I mean, it should be, the voting should be run until 22nd of July. So I don't know why.
I
See-
couldn't vote. Maybe
Yeah,
it's because I'm in
vote. I
Portugal.
couldn't vote. They're trying to silence our voices.
Oh no.
We gotta fight.
I'm gonna send an email. I took a print screen.
All right, send an
I'm like-
email. You can send an email to me and then I'll send it out to everybody.
Yeah, because
I'll send it out to everybody with this recording.
because
Marilla,
yeah.
so you're coming to New York. Have you heard of Sue Wicks? She's a premier retired professional basketball player who now has an oyster farm. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
That's somebody we should maybe try to figure out a way for you to connect with.
I
because
just put her
I'm-
name in the chat.
I'm gonna
Yeah. I think I know someone who knows her.
And she
Um,
happened to go, yes, to Rutgers.
You.
Okay. Had to,
Yeah, I'm gonna
we're
swim-
required by law to do that.
I'm gonna swim with Navy SEALs around Statue of Liberty on 20th of August. So
Oh, amazing.
We gotta
yeah,
meet you there. We have to meet you there, but I'm not gonna swim with you guys.
No, you can be on the Statue of Liberty and wave to us, you know.
Awesome.
It is pretty unique, and Hudson is clean thanks to oysters. I keep telling people.
Yep. And
It's better than Miami.
I put the link for the Billion Oyster Project in the chat, which is a great organization. Anyone else? Or are we good to Talia?
Hey, I just wanted to add in, I guess Riley got me thinking about like tracks, and I know that the Nike headquarters in Oregon has this really cool track with, there's a ton of trees planted in the middle and around it. And so I think the track surface itself is still rubber, but just having that, like, it's like feels like a forest basically. And having that like natural environment around that, like, to me, that's like when I think of rewilding, definitely like a strong image that comes up.
Yeah, and that's a visualization, I think, as well. The IAAF, I think the International Athletics Federation, have shown something about how they can do nature around tracks and use natural materials as well that could integrate as well to the, as we said, to the bioregion. So yeah, I think that Talia, it is what the future or the futures of nature that the athletics might do, or hopefully they'll implement.
And before I hand it to Riley, Sarah, thank you for putting that link in. When I send out the recordings, I'm gonna put the links that folks entered in during the chat. Riley, you're up.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to Talia that I pictured that track too, and I don't know, I think that would be like a great thing to spread, especially because that's like this cool like Nike standard. But I was also thinking how tracks, like I was saying, I already thought since last time that another thing that would be useful to make it more like a nature solution and for runners is like having a warm-up trail, or like warm-up cool down trail, because runners usually need to warm up, and if you're somewhere urban, it's also really hard to find shade when you're warming up, so you usually want to be somewhere shady, and it's the best if you can go into like a nature trail to warm up. So if we could convince, you know, tracks that are in urban areas to build that for their runners and to like have a nature-based solution, I think that would be really cool too.
Tanya, a question for you before we how does this, you know, because you're also like Marla in the water, you're on the water in stand-up paddling. How does this kind of fit into your environment, so to say, your playing field?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but for now, I'm not sure. I don't know.
That's okay.
Because also the waterways where we paddle are so different, from ocean to inland to lakes to rivers to, it's pretty complex. So
All right, well,
yeah, I don't have an answer on that yet, I think.
the operative word with you is always yet. You will have the answer.
Yeah.
It might depend on the environment. I mean, because some could be done in different. I mean, it could be done, as you said, like lakes or like coastal parts. So it would depend on of what the landscape is asking for too, as well. I think, but I think there's always ways to either protect or to restore a land that it's degraded or an ecosystem. So it depends, no? I guess.
Yeah.
I want to add, Tanya, that one thing what I learned last year in the summer in Estonia, that fertilizer can be coming from sheep skin and the fur. So like another thing what I feel what affects the lakes and rivers and those waterways is fertilizers. And if we can have more sheep-based pellets around those coastal areas using those pellets instead of those chemical fertilizer, that's the one way to raise awareness, because everything runs off to the lakes and waterways with the rain. So to check around the areas where you compete, like what kind of fertilizers are used, maybe that's a one way to raise the awareness and knowledge.
Yeah, I saw the link you were sharing about the sheep, or the comment you made in the chat. So I think, yeah, that's maybe one of the things that has to be changed.
Because my grandma is using the sheep pellets to raise the strawberries. So that's how I learned.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ronnie, last thing before we go, is I think a really cool thing to do, a suggestion for you as one of the next steps for the Rewilding project, is to go to the producers of Ted Lasso and say, hey, if you guys are doing a spin-off, because a season 4, if you will, could one of the episodes be rewilding around the Richmond Stadium?
The AFC Richmond. Yeah. First, they'll send me an invoice or a subpoena for copyright because I'm using their characters, but then I'll ask them about it.
Well, you're not using it for commercial gain yet.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, imagine that would be cool. It's that they start talking about, I mean, they talk about climate stuff in the first or second season.
They did. I put the article. I put the.
Yeah, you did the article. Yeah.
Liu, we need Messi to be an eco-athlete, and then the whole Miami can become that.
I'm bouncing that right back to you, Marla. You're in Miami. Messi is your neighbor now. I'm surprised. Wait, today is Wednesday, the 19th. I think by the 21st, you guys will be best friends. So
I have to go to that supermarket where he shops. So.
Yeah. So I'll leave it like this. When you, not if, but when you get connected to Messi, let's do a Zoom, me, you, and Leo, the 3 of us, and we'll talk. I'm in.
Yeah, well, listen, I know about the note about Usain Bolt. I'm working on it.
Yes, if you got Usain, that's just like.
He wants to compete against me 100 meters on awareness for climate. So I'm working on it.
That's pretty darn cool. Well,
I'm bringing him out from retirement for climate.
And then you'll kick his butt.
That's the plan.
Well, listen, what a great note to end on, Ronnie. Thank you so much. Again, from Ted Lasso, believe. And I believe that you've uncovered something that is crazy in a way that is also doable. So thank you,
Thank you,
Andy,
India,
for
as
sharing.
well for being involved. And thank you, Lou, again, and everyone for listening to this stuff on rewilding and sport. So thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
Of course. And so I'll be sending this out with the links. And we'll be also shortly sending an Eco Athletes WhatsApp group invitation to the champions. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for all the work that you're doing in the climate comeback. And you guys totally rock. That's all there is. Hasta la vista.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Take care.